we're going to start off with a story coming out of the University of South Carolina, my alma mater, if you would believe it. I'm a Gamecock over here. But we have an absolute tragedy coming out of the University of South Carolina. On May 3rd, a young woman was murdered visiting campus, and her dad has testified, and his strength shown through this testimony is absolutely heroic, in my opinion. His daughter went through the worst thing you could possibly imagine, and he's in this courtroom fighting for her and making sure that her story has an impact and that he will be the one to see that through. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say. Viewer discretion is advised. He's going to go ahead and break this down pretty graphically as to what happened to his daughter. I think that's necessary to know the reality of the situation right now and understand the dangers that we're facing day to day based on these criminal justice reforms that have occurred. South Carolina and North Carolina are just two of many states that have implemented social justice reform to their criminal justice system that has led to cashless bail and many other policies that have led to criminals being released dozens of times even after violent crimes. These people are voted in, and once they're voted in, we're a republic. We got to deal with it. And if they decide that they want to push lax justice reform, vote in these judges that also follow this lax ideology that it says it's more about reform and less about punishment, and that reformation is therapeutic versus imprisonment, and then that therapy turns into no-shows and the person ending up on the streets again. Like, these are the things we have to worry about when it comes to the policies of the Democratic Party. They are not looking out for the betterment of their societies. They're looking out for the betterment of what they see as the victim class. And the victim class is subjective. What's awful is, in cases like this, there was literally nothing this young woman could have done. Nothing at all. It's a tragic, nightmarish story. And let's go ahead and listen to the dad and see what he has to say.
Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that? How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old. But nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, my daughter wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. And I haven't heard a damn word from Byron Gibson in South Carolina. Not one word. 4 months, no communication. His biggest concern was that he was pissed off about my interview and how I made him look on the Fox News channel with Trey Gowdy.
You know, that's one of the awful things about these situations is that it always ends up getting politicized. It always ends up going the way of selfishness with these politicians. They're always just thinking about themselves and the optics of these situations. Instead, it's swept under the rug and they want us to live in ignorant bliss. And just like the federal government, we have these cover-ups by local officials to make sure that the optics are on their side. They're going to do whatever it takes to ensure that we don't have the information that would make them possibly look bad. This guy that killed this young girl, he had a massive, massive criminal history, like the father had explained. We can see right here, Jez on Twitter, within the span of 48 hours, Alexander Dickey burglarized a house and stole a gun, broke into the house next door, executed 22-year-old Logan Frederico and stole her cards and her car, went on a spending spree with her cards. When her car broke down, he stole another car but wrecked it. While running from the cops, he broke into another house and set it on fire, and then he was finally caught by the cops. This guy is only 30 years old. 39 arrests, 25 felonies. The father says he should have been in jail for 140 plus years if he was convicted of these things, but he only spent a max of 600 days in prison. What rehabilitation could possibly be done to a person like this? Someone that's a year younger than me has 2.6 plus felonies per year since they were 15 years old. The system is broken. The system is broken. We shouldn't be seeing these awful situations like what happened to Irina in North Carolina on the subway. It's truly mind-boggling that anyone would defend a policy that would allow for violent criminals to continue being released onto the streets with us, rule-following, tax-paying American citizens. What is this person contributing to that would justify the need for them to be within our public square? What is the justification after any amount of violent crime? Any amount of violent crime. Prove rehabilitation and the lack of violent tendency, and then maybe we can allow them back into society. But until then, how can we not justify some sort of imprisonment or at least forced institutionalization to ensure they're, one, taken away from normal citizens and their violent tendencies aren't going to be released onto the public, and two, see if it's even possible to rehabilitate them. See if it's even possible. Because with some people, it's not, guys. Evil exists. Evil exists. Good exists. We can see from some of these people that are just continuing to be released by our criminal justice system that they're evil. They do one evil thing after the next. So you have to consider that when you're thinking about the people you're voting for. Are you voting for someone that's going to continue supporting causes and policies that allow for violent criminals to be released onto the streets? Because I don't want to. I don't know if you want to. Go ahead and comment down below as to what your opinion is when it comes to these violent criminals and how our criminal justice system seems to be giving them a green light to continue victimizing us, the normal tax-paying, rule-following citizens of the United States of America. I don't want anyone to be a victim of violence. And the more we turn a blind eye to the politicians and the judges that are allowing for these people to be released onto the streets over and over and over again, the worse we're going to be. America is not going to be great unless we're able to fix these horrific problems that we already have. This should be a wake-up call. We're going to learn about cases like this more and more often, and we really need to make changes to our criminal justice system. As voters, as citizens, we need to ensure that the politicians that we're voting for have our backs when it comes to criminal justice, that they're going to put judges in place that will not let these criminals out on the street over and over again. Let me know what you think about this story below. I'm really happy that this beautiful girl, Logan Frederico, that she has her father to fight for her right now, and that he looks like he's going to put everything he can into this fight to ensure that nothing like this can happen to young women in the future, and really anyone in the future, showing American citizens what can happen when criminal justice is as lax as it's been in South Carolina and apparently North Carolina as well. And I'm sure a lot of other places, considering that North and South Carolina are normally red states. So imagine how awful it might be in a place like Los Angeles or New York or Chicago or Portland. These are things we have to put into perspective, considering the horror stories that we're getting right now are from red states. So please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with your family and friends. We need to get this story out there. Logan deserves for her story to be told and for her voice to be shared. And I'd really appreciate it if you got this out there to ensure that everyone knows what's happening right now in our country. Thanks so much. This is Aaron West with From Left to Right, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.